Good morning, everyone. Happy February.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Time to meet it. January's done. February's to come. Do we have any February birthdays?
Yeah, she's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe she'll be back by her birthday. Oh, yeah, I was wondering if you got my, no, I was wondering if you got my email.
Yeah, did you want me to give it to you?
Sure, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
Sorry.
The hardest thing about this honestly was writing my name. That was the most difficult part.
Okay.
Like, notating it was okay, but the name writing on the screen is not.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Take a look at the homework you have for today. If you haven't already, please take out your workbook. And let's go, first of all, to page 211. That is the analysis passage you have. And I do want to take questions on the analysis passage because I am collecting this page, not the other one, for homework or for grade today. Yes, sir.
The final measure on the top one.
Okay, yeah. All right, let's take a look at that. I'm going to put down the notes that we have here. Whoops. Let's see here. We are, and by the way, what key are we in this passage? C minor, that's right. And it looks like we have, in the bass, we have a B flat. Then we have, looks like we have a G. We have a D flat. And we have an E natural. And way up in the clarinet part, we do have an F on the downbeat, but I consider the F an appoggiatura. So I have the second beat of the clarinet, the E natural, that is the chord tone. Okay? So really, these are the four pitches we have in that measure. And we need to make them somewhat make sense, hopefully, in the key of C minor. Well, because it's got the accidentals E natural and D flat in particular, I know that this chord is not going to be a diatonic chord in C minor. In other words, it's not going to naturally fit in the key. But I do see that E, if I put it in root position in my head, E, G, B flat, D flat is a fully diminished seventh sound. And we know that fully diminished seventh chords can serve as secondary chords, right? And secondary chords, 9 times out of 10, will have at least one accidental. So if I think of this as a secondary chord, in fact, E is the root. So if B flat is on the bottom, what inversion would that be in? Chord 3? I have 4-3 inversion. Yeah, second inversion, the fifth of the chord is the lowest one. But remember, E natural is the root. So if E natural is the root, what would E natural be a leading tone to? Just go up a half step. F. And what Roman numeral in C minor would an F chord be?
4.
A 4, that's right. So, excuse me, so what I have for that chord is one of these. And you'll find out in the very next measure it goes to a 4 that's an inversion. So at least that part makes sense in terms of the analysis.
Can I ask about measure 27, that second chord?
The second chord in measure 27?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, it looks like the notes are very similar to the one we just did. We have a B flat in the bass, but this time we have a C, an E natural, and a G. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Those are the 4 notes I did. That's right on beat 3 of measure 27. Well, once again, the E natural is going to take it out of the key of C minor, so it's not going to be your standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 chord. This, as I look at these notes here and I put them in root position order, C, E, G, B flat happens to be a dominant 7th sound, a major minor 7th sound. And we know that dominant 7ths can serve as secondary chords as well. So if I think of this as a 5 of something, first of all, what inversion is this 5-7 in? 4-2. It's in the third inversion, right? So I'm thinking it could be a 5-4-2 of something. Well, once again, as I did over here, go to the root, which in this case is C. But this time, since it's a secondary dominant of something, I need to ask myself, C is the dominant of what note? Or C is a perfect fifth above what note? F again, right? And what Roman numeral would an F chord be in C minor? That's right, 4. So it's yet another secondary chord of 4. This time it's a secondary dominant rather than a secondary leading tone.
I was wondering, could it also be like an N6-4 chord, since the bass moves like that? That's what I was curious.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like a neighbor 6-4?
Right.
No, remember for a neighbor 6-4 chord, the bass has to remain static.
Okay, gotcha.
It doesn't go up and then come back down.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's what a neighbor is,
Yeah.
but remember, with a neighbor 6-4, the neighbor motion is actually in the upper voices, not in the bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the second chord of measure 1, or 23.
I only have one chord in measure 23.
Yeah, that would be what was missing.
Okay. Yeah, I just have the one chord for the first measure of the passage. Yes.
The chord in measure 30.
Yes, okay, the chord in measure 30. Let's take a look at those notes. I'm going to back it up and put it over here. Now notice the clef change in the left hand of measure 30. So it looks like the lowest sounding note I have is an F. Then there's an A flat. Then in the right hand and in the clarinet part, there are B naturals and there's D natural. I think that's all I have. Yeah, those are my 4 pitches. Well, because all of these notes do belong to a C minor scale, they belong to the key of C minor, this is actually going to be a diatonic chord. It fits right in the key. What is the root of these notes? Well, it should be the B natural. So that means the chord in C minor is going to be some sort of 7, right? And what type of 7th chord is it? Well, B, D, F, A flat, that's again a fully diminished 7th chord. So you can actually call it a 7 diminished 7, but what is the inversion technically? 4-3. 4-3, that's right. so it's just one of your plain 7 chords that fits right in the key. Yeah. I don't know what it is about this composer, but he likes using 7s a lot, doesn't he? Okay.
Between measure 28 and 29, all of the, where it's just the upper voice.
Yep, you don't need any chord there.
That's
That's right. Yeah, halfway through 28, all the way through measure 29, no chords or no Roman numerals are necessary, because it's just melody here. Let's see, let's see if I can connect to the Wi-Fi here. I would like to play this for us, because I do have it, queued up. I just have to connect to the system, that's all. Let's try that. Okay, this is chapter 21, number 6. Let's see if we get sound here.
Exercise 21, 1C6.
If you want to know any more about the context of this piece or the history of this piece, I would suggest you ask Dr. Kolbeck. Can you imagine, Dr.? I can just hear Dr. Kolbeck playing. In fact, maybe it's him. No, just kidding. Yeah, so great piece. Can we go ahead and make sure our name is on that page before I lose any more time? Tear this page out of your workbook and I'll come around and collect this. And then we'll take a look at the answer to the part writing problem you have on the next on page 213. Have you moved on? Yep, that's perfect. Yes, I believe that's correct. All right, so on page 213, I'll see if I can bring up the document camera here. So I can show you the part writing. Believe it or not, this number 3 was in the key of C minor, and I think we've done several examples on the board part writing wise in the key of C minor, so it wasn't meant to be tricky. Well, let's see, wait till that comes on and see if we get a signal. This TV keeps telling me no signal, and I get so frustrated with it because if it was analyzing a modulation, it wouldn't be able to find the signal pitch. Hey, there we go. All right, number 3 on the top. Now, I would imagine, oh no, you couldn't really switch the tenor and the alto that I have because that high F was giving you in an N6 chord for the tenor. So really, what I'm looking at here is that your part writing should pretty much be exactly like mine, except for the fact that maybe the bass and the alto in the last 2 chords are quarter notes. Otherwise, I think it's gotta be exactly like what I got. Did you, well, I was gonna say, did you double the bass in the N6? Well, I think it was given to you, wasn't it? Yeah. Did you put raw in the soprano of the N6? Well, that was given to you too. Did you remember, because N6 is going first to a 1/6/4 and then to a 5, did you remember that raw goes down to do, then it goes down to T, all in the same voice, the soprano voice? What do we call that? Chromatic smoothing, that's right. And the chromatic smoothing only happens in the soprano voice when you have a 1/6/4 between the Neapolitan and the 5. Did you remember to include your natural, your accidental on T, since you're in a minor key? Gosh, I don't really know what else to say about that. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about that? Did you do pretty well in terms of the part writing? Again, aside from my, my half note Gs, and for the last two chords, you could have 2 quarter notes, but I think that's about the only difference that can happen. Did you have a question?
That was exactly what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, that's the only difference, really. Okay. Are we good with this? Yes?
I was curious because I actually did all of this section.
Oh, yes.
I was curious about number 1 because I was getting very frustrated.
Well, I didn't do number 1 because it's
Oh,
only,
no.
the reason I didn't is because it's only in 3 voices.
I know.
And I don't usually assign anything and mess around with 3 voice textures. Did you do number 2 or number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did those. So you could see number 2, because those are in 4 voices. And number 4, I don't know why I didn't assign those. I don't know. Maybe because the 5 chord, the last chord doesn't resolve to anything, perhaps. I don't know. Well, I guess neither did the one in number 3.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, I don't know. There must have been a reason years ago. Good. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, guess what? We are in I kind of like today's class because once again we get to learn some more chords, some new chords, which are chromatic chords, of course. That's all we're learning really right now because we're getting more into the technical side of things. But again, these chords are very good. They're used all the time. They sound great. And I'm just kind of happy to teach them to you. Today we're going to be learning about something called the augmented 6th chord. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on these chords first to show you how they were derived. And then we can start to learn how to spell them. One way to emphasize a tone or a pitch in music, such as the dominant pitch here in G minor, one way to emphasize a tone is to approach it by a half step, either from above, a half step above, or from a half step below. So if I want to emphasize this tone in the key of G minor, one way I can do it is by approaching it from a half step above. That is, preceding it with an E flat. Another way I can emphasize the dominant pitch in G minor is to approach it from a half step below. That is, to approach it preceded with a C sharp. Right? The C sharp is a half step below a D. dominant pitch by a half step from above and below at the same time makes for an even stronger approach to that note. So let's say, for instance, I have a D here, and I have a D here. These are dominant pitches in the key of G. And I approach this D from a half step above, and this D from a half step below at the same time. And you know what? Well, I'm going to get rid of these double bars because I want the key signature to still apply to all these accidentals, to all these pitches. Approaching the dominant scale degree by a half step from above and below at the same time makes for an even stronger approach. So there's a half step below the dominant pitch, here's a half step above the dominant pitch. Now, these two approaching tones form a vertical interval that's very, very important for this new kind of chord. Does anyone know what technically is the interval from an E flat up to a C sharp? Yeah, the interval is actually an augmented sixth interval. It's a half step larger than a major sixth interval. So this distance from E flat up to C sharp in this case is an augmented sixth interval. Composers of the classical and the romantic eras liked to approach the dominant pitch in particular this way. That is, with a note a half step from above and a half step from below. In fact, let's go ahead and name these. We know that the dominant pitch in any key is sol, right? But say in a minor key, what is lowered scale degree 6? What's the syllable for that? Lay, that's right. And here we saw a little bit of this with chromatic smoothing in the base of the Neapolitan part range. But what is the raised fourth scale degree? B. That's right. Bless you. Okay. So, approaching the dominant pitch with lay from above and phi from below. Now, adding one or two notes to this augmented sixth interval is actually going to produce a whole category of chromatic chords called augmented sixth chords. Augmented sixth chords. Okay. And we need to know that augmented sixth chords, like the Neapolitan, they also function as predominant chords. Okay. Predominant chords in function. So, by definition of predominant, what chord do you think they love to go to? Five, the dominant, that's right. They love to go to 5. Okay. In fact, augmented sixth chords will go either to 5, they'll go to 5/7, or they can go to the 1/6/4/5 combo. That's what they love going to. In fact, over 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to one of these 3. That's what they're going to proceed to, or move to in a progression. Okay. Now, there are 3 flavors, I should say, or varieties, you could say, of augmented sixth chords. And these augmented sixth chords are used in both major and minor keys. One of them is referred to as the Italian sixth, the Italian augmented sixth chord. One of them is referred to as the French augmented sixth chord, and one of them is known as the German augmented sixth chord. What I need you to know is that all 3 types of these augmented sixth chords, all of them contain lay in the bass and phi somewhere in an upper voice, somewhere above lay, to create the characteristic augmented sixth interval. They all contain those 2 pitches to create the augmented sixth interval. They only differ by 1 note. And we're going to add a few more notes, sometimes more notes to this augmented sixth interval to get these chords. And you'll see how they differ. They differ only just slightly. Okay. By the way, these geographic terms, they have no historical authenticity, unfortunately. They are simply convenient and traditional labels. Okay, so we call them the Italian sixth, the French sixth, and the German augmented sixth. By the way, these are their Roman numeral or their analysis symbols, abbreviations. We write Italian plus 6 is IT. We write FR plus 6. And for some reason, the German one, they use, I see it most often, they use 3 letters, GER plus 6, rather than just GR. I don't know why. But these are the standard analysis symbols when you find words like that in passages of music. All right, let's go ahead and spell the 3 different kinds of augmented 6 chords up here. Let's go to a different key. How about the key of C minor? Remember, all of these 3 types of augmented 6 chords have lay at the base and Fi somewhere above it. Okay, so let's think about this. In C minor, what pitch is lay? A flat. That's right. Does lay normally occur in minor keys? Does the key signature take care of making it lay? No, it does. Right? So do I have to put an accidental on the bass note, lay, to spell any of these augmented 6 chords when I'm in a minor key? No, I don't need to put an accidental on it because the key signature already has made it lay for me. Okay? What is the raised 4th scale degree, or Fi, in C minor? F sharp. Fi will always require an accidental when you spell these chords. Fi does not occur in major or minor keys naturally, so it will always require an accidental. Then to make this, what I've done is I've created the augmented 6th interval, right? A flat up to F sharp, if you think about it, is an augmented 6th. That's the distance. Let me pull this a little forward so you can see. Now, in order to spell and make an Italian 6th out of this interval, all I have to do is add 1 pitch. And the pitch I add to make it an Italian 6th is the pitch Do. Scale degree 1. And I'm in C minor, so I just add a C, and poof, I have a full-fledged Italian 6th chord. An Italian 6th chord is 3 pitches, that's it. It is, we can see that clearly, it's lay on the bottom, contains Do, and then Fi. That's how you spell an Italian 6th in any key. Find what lay is, find what Do is, and find what Fi is, and you got it. Now, I don't know if I want to do this. Let's do this maybe right away. Because these augmented 6 chords are found and used both in minor and major keys, I want to show you how to spell an Italian 6th in C major. It doesn't matter whether you're in minor or major keys, the bass note for these is always lay. So, does lay naturally occur in major keys? No, it does not. So, in order to make lay the bottom note of my chord, I need, in major keys, I need to lower it a half step with an accidental. Because lay must be the bass note of all these chords, whether you're in major keys or minor keys. So in minor keys, I don't have to lower the bass note. It's already lay. But in major keys, I have to physically lower the half step with an accidental to make it lay and not long. Make sense? Fi is still going to be F sharp as it was in the minor key over there, and it still requires an accidental. And of course, to fill in or finish an Italian 6th, all you have to do is add Do. Sounds like a recipe. Just add Do, put it in the oven for 350 for an hour. So you see how an Italian 6th in C major is spelled, it sounds in the exact same notes as the Italian 6th in C minor. It's just that the bass note in major needs to be lowered a half step with an accidental. You still have lay, Do, and Fi. questions about how to spell an Italian six, either in a major key or a minor key. I'm gonna have to make some more space here, so. Get rid of this. All right, let's go to the French six. Let's go back to C minor, I guess. Okay, I said every one of these chords, augmented six chord types, involves lay on the bottom and fee somewhere up above. So if I'm in minor, once again, I don't need an accidental, it's automatically lay if I use scale degree 6. And because I'm still in the same key, fee has not moved or changed. Fee is still F sharp, the raised fourth scale degree. To create a French six chord with the augmented six interval, I add do, like I did with the Italian six, but I also add scale degree re, the second scale degree. And you'll find out that the French six is a 4-note chord. The Italian six, only 3 notes. It's leaner, it's slimmer, it's sleeker, but the French six has 4 pitches. And those pitches are, whether you're major or minor keys, lay, do, re, and fee. Scale degrees 6, 1, 2, and raised 4. Going to C major. How do I get my bass note? Do I have to add an accidental to it to lower it? Yes, I do. I've got to make it lay. And fee is still there with an accidental always. I guess, yeah, the pitches that you use here, do and re and C minor, they're just going to be, obviously, you don't need to add any accidentals to them in major keys either. So how does spelling an augmented six chord so far differ in the major keys than spelling it in the minor keys? The only difference is that in the major keys you have to lower the root half step to make it lay. I know I don't have the German ones right here, but I do want to play the sound of these. So we're in C minor. The Italian six sounds like this, and it likes to go to 5. That's a 5 chord. Okay. Here is the French six. A little bit Frenchier, right? It likes to go to 5. Yeah.
So like with the Neapolitan chords, is it always going to be 1 accidental in minor and 2 in major? Or can they differ in these ones?
It will be, as long as it will be for the Italian six and the French six when you have key signatures.
Okay.
If you don't have key signatures, you may have to add more accidental. The German six, though, however, is just a little different in terms of the number of accidentals. And let's go to that right now. Treble clef. Go back to C minor. And we're going to spell a German six. Well, all of them still require lay on the bottom and fee on the top. And I don't need an accidental to make it lay in minor keys. So there's my characteristic augmented six interval. Now, to create a German augmented six, you add do, like you did in the Italian and the French. But the fourth pitch or the other pitch that you add this time is may to create a German six. And I have to do it over here. So technically, the German six is a 4-note chord that contains the pitches lay, do, may, and fee. Not me, but may. So you see how it's slightly different from the Italian six in that it has this fourth pitch may. It's slightly different from the French six in that the French six fourth note is re, But this one is a half step higher than A. Now, when I spell a German 6 in a major key, and this gets to Kieran's point, you're going to find out that you'll need 3 accidentals to spell it in major keys. Because you need 1 accidental to make the lowest note lay. You need to lower the half step to make it lay, not law. You need an accidental always for fee. And you're going to need, since you're in a major key now here, you're going to need an accidental to make it may. Right? It's not me. So to spell a German 6 in a major key, boy, that's a really angry looking C. But to spell a German 6 in a major key, you need 3 full accidentals. 1 for lay, 1 for fee, and then 1 for may. To make it may, not me.
So then in minor, would there only be 2 accidentals then? Or would it vary still?
In minor, you only need 1.
Oh.
Because lay and may just normally fit into the key signature, right? Yeah. So it looks to me like in minor keys, it doesn't matter which augmented 6 chord you spell, you only need 1 accidental in minor keys, and that's always going to be on fee, the raised 4th scale degree. But careful when you're spelling these in major keys. Sometimes you'll need 2 accidentals for lay and fee. Sometimes you'll need 3 for lay, may, and fee. And if I can go to the piano and play the German 6, sounds a lot like the others, just slightly different. So we have our German 6. And that would like to go, let's say it goes to 1, 6, 4 first. And then 5. And then 1. So, I don't know if you can really hear the difference, but Italian 6, 3 notes. French 6. German 6. Okay. One way that I sometimes think of the German 6 in particular is I think of it, it is actually a major triad with fee stuck on top. The others are not really, I mean, lay, do, and re, that doesn't create any kind of a chord. You could maybe think of the Italian 6 as a major triad without the 5th, like an incomplete major triad with fee. But for some reason, it always stuck in my mind that the German 6, whether you're minor or major, it's like a major triad, A flat, C, E flat. Always a major triad with fee. Okay, let's see here. All right, now the main thing to do now is to get clear this off and spell some augmented 6 chords in various keys. Various keys. But remember, the recipe for all of these is the same. Italian 6 is lay, do, and fee. French 6 is lay, do, re, and fee. And German 6 is lay, do, may, and fee. No matter what key you're in. So, let's do that. Okay. We're going to start in F major. Italian 6. Rather than maybe spelling it from the bottom up consecutively, I would like to find out what lay and fee are to make the interval of the augmented 6. Okay, so think about the key of F major. Lay does not normally occur, but what pitch, if we add an accidental, what pitch technically is lay? D flat, that's right, D flat. So that's going to be your bottom note. And now what is the raised 4th scale degree in this key?
C sharp. Or
B natural, right? Because the regular 4th scale degree is B flat, raise it a half step, that makes it B natural. Okay. Now, how do I complete my times 6 chord? I just have to add 1. Go. And I'm in the key of F. There you go. That is a correctly spelled Italian 6 in F major. Notice it required 2 accidentals. I need to make it lay, not la, and I need to have fee. Let's see, let's go to a different one now. How about the bass clef? Go to the key of G minor. And let's have you guys help me spell French 6. French augmented 6, I should say. Okay, what is lay in G minor? E flat, right? I don't need an accidental, because it's already E flat from the key signature. It's already lay. What is the raised 4th scale degree or fee in G minor? C sharp. C sharp. Now I have to add 2 more pitches to make it the French type. Do is always 1, and I'm in the key of G minor, so I gotta add a G, and then I need to add re. What is scale degree 2 in G minor? A, that's right. That's A natural, right? Yeah. And there you go. That is a correctly spelled French 6 in G minor, E flat, G, A, C sharp. And you'll find that, I mean, we won't get to the part writing until next class, but, well, I guess I had it down here. As a chromatically raised pitch, fee loves to go up. And, whoops. So fee, just like I was showing down here, is going to resolve always to sol, up a half step. And lay, as a lower pitch, is going to go down to sol. So the augmented 6 interval in these chords from lay up to fee is always, as you part rate it, it's going to expand outward to an octave on sol. That's what it's typically going to do. And then to get the rest of the pitches, like for instance, we could do, well, let's see, what's a 5 chord? What's a 5 chord in G? D, F sharp, A. You see how the A won't even have to move? And the G, the do just goes down by a half step, and voila. I mean, it's not in, I don't have it in soprano, alto, tenor, bass texture, but it's not hard to part write these because the augmented 6 interval lay and fee is going to expand outward. Fee's going to go up a half step to sol. Lay is going to go down a half step to sol, and that's going to give you an octave of sol, which is what you want doubled in your 5. It's real smooth. It's really nice. And composers, they exploited this. They liked to use this. Mozart, I mean, he uses tons of augmented 6 chords. So does Beethoven. Those sort of the romantic composers. You name it. All right, let's spell one more of these. Didn't really save myself a lot of space. I have one in the key of B major. No space here. Who remembers just a minute ago, how many accidentals do you need to spell a German 6 in a major key? 3. Yeah, 3. Okay, let's get the bottom note first. Lay, normally scale degree 6 in this key is G sharp, but I need to lower it a half step. So lay is G natural. There we go. That's one accidental. Fee, what's the raised 4th scale degree? E sharp. Good, E sharp. So there's fee, that's another accidental. I need do, in the chord which never requires an accidental. And then what do I need to finish this German 6?
D natural?
I need may. Yeah, what's may? Or yeah, lowered scale degree for scale degree 3. It's D natural, yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to squeeze it in over here. Sorry about that. But yeah, So the answer for this is G natural B, D natural E sharp. Notice it is a major triad, DBD, with the raised fourth scale degree on top. See if I forgot anything. Yeah, I don't think we need to go through anything else here. The first assignment that I have for you guys on augmented six chords is actually a handout. And it's just one side. So just make sure you pay attention to all the accidentals. Again, these are chromatic chords. Use whatever you need to make them the pitches that are required to spell these chords. And I don't think you should have too much trouble with this assignment if you've taken notes today. So this is for Wednesday. Is anyone going to see Hannah?
I can stop it off.
Okay, I'll give you an extra one then for that. All right, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your Monday.